We can start. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this session. It's titled Do More with Less Screen Time. Judging by the title, I guess we're going to talk about efficiency in DevSecOps. First, a couple of notes about me. My name is Spyros, Gasteratos. I'm an OWASP lifetime member. I've been in OWASP for 13 years. I've been doing security for a little bit more. In my spare time, I'm an open source developer. One of the projects I maintain is OpenCRE.org. You might have noticed it. I've also created the Wayfinder, which you might have seen if you ever went to the projects page in OWASP. And on my non-free time, I guess, I co-founded a company called Security with Vijay over there and Dr. Konstantinos back there. You can find, that's my email, that's my Twitter, and Mastodon and LinkedIn. My interests are in security engineering and how to unify and use existing tools in novel ways. For example, OpenCRE is a tool that unifies security standards and documentation. And as I said, I'm very passionate about open source. I'm here to talk about a novel piece of technology that we are releasing today. You ready to make it open source? Fantastic. So, recap. Several years ago, we had a problem. We were a tiny security team in a very fast-paced environment. When I say fast-paced, imagine fintech with 50,000 lines of code changes per week. That's, well, at least according to me, that's fast-paced. We were highly regulated because, well, fintech, and we were a fintech startup, which is not great. So we had no budget for any tool. My boss would, and very good friend, would kind of laugh every time a vendor would come and charge us something as low as 20K a year, because, well, no budget. So we needed to scale our efforts fast. There was no way that 1, 2, 3 people team could like secure that kind of organization doing manual code reviews or doing manual work. So we needed to scale our efforts fast. We needed to reduce BAU, but also because, well, that was not enough challenge, we needed to also serve each and every single team in the entire organization in ways that were custom to the team. Why that? Because, frankly, I'm sick of security going to developers and telling them, you need to look at our dashboard. Here's a bunch of results you need to triage, and here's what you need to do. That developers hate that, and it doesn't work. The only way to make it work is make it seamless for every development team to do security, to do this security thing. So we had to find solutions to all of these problems, and it looked a bit like this. Not as epic. Imagine more motivational posters and memes in an office, less mountains, but, well, it felt like a mountain and an awesome challenge at that. So with our friend and ex-colleague, Henry and Vijay over there, we presented an open source, a small integration framework that allowed us to unify a bunch of SaaS tools that we were back then using and treat them as one. The idea was that because we have several teams that create several different, that use several different technologies and create software with different requirements, and we don't have money to buy these all-in-one solutions, let's make something that unifies a bunch of open source and free tools so we can use them as one. And then we can customize them per team. Since then, that was 4 years ago. I was in the last pre-pandemic OWASP conference in Europe in Amsterdam. Great conference. Since then, the world moved on, right? There was something called the pandemic, and Vijay and I co-founded a company. Our colleague Henry got a family, and back then we named the solution Dracon, and Dracon now has been completely rewritten to be a generic project instead of the automations used by 3 people. How many security engineers do we have in the room? A few. how many of you have custom scripts to take data out of one system and dump it into something else? All of you, right? Okay. So Dracon was our custom solution. We dumped a lot of effort into that, and we open sourced it because we thought it was a good solution. So to recap, Dracon went into our repository, or integrated with our Git solution. We didn't use GitHub because, well, fintech. And every time there was a pull request or anyway a change event, it would run a set of pre-configured SAST solutions and take all these results, translate them to an internal format, pass them through an enricher layer because we thought it would be a good idea, and then dump them in any visualization solution every team wanted. That was the dream. In V0, in reality, because dreams and reality are completely different, in reality, we only did SAST because that's what our teams wanted. By SAST, I mean also things like TFSec and cloud posture. We never did dynamic things. In reality, while we thought we had all these amazing designs for enrichment, turns out that in our busy lives, we could only do duplicate tagging for enrichment so that developers do not need to see the same results day in and day out. Because if you have to triage 5,000 results every day because some Java SAST is trigger happy, you're never going to take security seriously, right? This is not accurate, especially if 90% of these are false positives. So duplicate tagging, so at least you triage 5,000 results once, or maybe twice if we lose a database back then. And last but not least, 2 months after we created Dracon, the whole company was moved to Jira. So no more different consumer solutions, just one, Jira. So we use Jira as a vulnerability management platform. There is a really great talk from AppSec California on how to do vulnerability management in Jira. But now, today, with a bit of drum roll, bad idea. Let's hope I can bring it back. It's happening, right? Okay. Maybe a bad idea. There we go. No. Jesus. Okay, I'll hold it. It's fine. We're introducing Dracon. We wrote Dracon to be. Can you try and get another dongle with HDMI and USB? So we're introducing Dracon. We rewrote Dracon and we changed a lot of things more than having a logo, because every cool open source project needs a logo on top of a name. And what did we change? Well, we created a brand new project pretty much, and we made Dracon Zapier for security tooling. Who knows Zapier? Okay, a few people. Seems it seems a few people have used like productivity software. Zapier is a generic like SaaS solution that brings together different services. You can, for example, connect your Gmail to your calendar and do automation workflows based on that. Another one is IFTTT. We want to make Dracon Zapier for security tooling. Bold statement, hear me out. So Dracon is now a flexible security workflow and orchestration platform. You can link any tool to any enrichment layer and to any visualization solution. Why? Because Sam over here, as a security engineer, does not really care about the individual vulnerability and how the fix will be. He cares that the vulnerability disappears and it's fixed appropriately. Do we have any CISOs in the room? Awesome, fantastic. Oscar back there doesn't care about what the individual, oh, thank you so much. 2 seconds break while technology is being adjusted. Right, thank you. Even the screen was dancing with excitement. Come on, Linux. Please work. Something's happening. No? Yes? No? I'm such a good hacker that even technology breaks. Yes, okay, cool. Yeah, we're back in business. Okay. Fantastic. So where were we? Yeah, here. So as a CISO, Oscar back there does not care about every single individual vulnerability, especially if there are thousands of them, right? He cares about metrics, what is the maturity of the company, how to progress to the board. But then if you run typical tools, even the vendor all-in-one solutions, not to bash on any vendor, most of them are amazing. But if you get all of this, you need to work with their dashboards. You need to work with their data pipelining and their data management, which it's very hard for a single company to be consistent with all of our use cases. I assume everyone has a slightly different one. And in the end, what happens is we change our company to fit the vendors we've chosen, which, come on, it shouldn't, right? Like our security should be custom to the company that needs it, to the organization that is applied to, and not to the vendor management solutions that the CISO bought whenever in a conference. So that's what we made Dragon. It integrates and unifies security tools. It enriches information easily and efficiently. But how did we make that, right? I can promise everything I want, but how did we make that? Well, we created a new API. I did mention that previous Dragon transformed from the API of every single security tool via connectors into a common API. So we added a new API because SAST carries information that are related to a file, a line, and what is the problem. If you want to have a generic scanning solution, you need way more information, right? We want to support any scanning against the target. Moreover, in the past, we only had enrichment that was deduplication. That is great, but the duplication enrichment only carries information related to what the past problem was, how much, when it was first found, and how many times you've seen it before. We want to add arbitrary enrichment, and Kubernetes has a very good way to add enrichment on results called annotation. So now you can annotate results. In this process, we realized that we can add any tool we want. And we added a ton of tools, including infrastructure as code, for example, kicks from checkmarks or TFSec. We added composition analysis via dependency check and Trivy. We added SBOM generation. SBOMs are super important, given by the fact that Nicholas there, the guy who makes dependency track, most useful tool I've seen in a while, is here. We now consume things in CycloneDX format. And of course, you couldn't have security tools without Dust, and the best Dust out there. Thank you, Simon, for making this via Zap. And because we have to add so many tools, we slowly started creating common components and common libraries to simplify common formats. So for example, Zap here, Trivy, and others talk Sarif. Sarif is a very nice interchangeable format for static analysis, for security analysis, I'm sorry. And so we have now a component that allows you to integrate new producers that talk Serif. And CycloneDX is another very popular SBOM, can I say protocol? Format? Standard? Standard. Thank you. So we have more producers that integrate with CycloneDX and understand CycloneDX. But we work in 3 layers: producers, enrichers, consumers, and enrichment is the next part. We wanted to add more enrichers. And another enricher that is very useful to any organization is policy. Why, when I, as a security engineer, do all my scanning, why do I need then to go back, extract every ticket from Jira or my vulnerability analysis platform and present it, package it all, and present it to some auditor and explain to them via emails or whatever very manual and synchronous solution how this applies to my policy? Why not write my policies in Rigo, which is data log, essentially, and then use the very capable and powerful open policy agent to parse the results from my tools and automatically tell me how many policies am I failing on the latest scan or on aggregate scans or on whatever I want. And as a bonus, since we have enrichers and since signing is kind of trivial nowadays, there are many very good cryptography libraries out there, why not sign your results? So that you can do kind of attestations of where your software is coming from and what has happened to it. So we did that. And last but not least, consumers, right? Anything we do to information that we get from our tools, if we don't present it in a nice, relevant way to the person that needs to see it the most, it would be useless. Nobody would ever look at it if you all had to go to a terminal and like go through pages and pages of like some random YAML or JSON or whatever format I want. So consumer related, we added dependency track. Again, thank you, Nicholas. We added a generic Serif consumer. If I serialize from Serif to Dracon, why not deserialize from Dracon to Serif? That's trivial. It's the same information. We added a generic webhook consumer. The world runs on webhooks, so we might as well run on webhooks as well. And as a last step, we added a Slack consumer with templated messages. So you can post to each person a summary of this scan has finished, this many results were found, that many results are new, or that many policies have been breached. Or if you really want to be evil, you can get a Slack consumer to post every single finding on someone's Slack as a DM. I did that once to somebody that annoyed me. They got an unusable phone for a while. Sorry. But doing all this work without making it trivial to create pipelines and use the tool would not have been very user-friendly. So we talked to several of you, as far as I see, and several kind of friends and family on what the ideal UX for Dracon would be. So we now made creating and maintaining pipelines almost no code. We use a very nice tool called Customize, which allows you to essentially say in a YAML file what components you want to use. And then Dracon, you apply this Customize to your cluster, Dracon will create pipelines for you. The other thing you need to do is write what parameters to which tools need to be provided. That's all. And then you have pipelines running. 2 files, maybe 20 lines, something like that. But that's hard. I wouldn't want to do that. We got inspired by Zap and Simon back there, who had a great idea on creating community scripts for Zap. So let's let the community share what tools they're using, configuration they're using, and what is their pipelines. So I can grab a pipeline from a community pipelines repository, modify 3 lines, and then apply it to my cluster. What can go wrong? Well, lots, but we'll find out together. So the result is useful to, according to our opinion, to the whole organization. But let's play a game. Are there any developers in here? Oh, wow, fantastic. When you see a vulnerability, how many of you use Jira? So Dracon can give you vulnerabilities straight on Jira as a ticket against your project. Only the new ones and only the relevant ones. Security champions? Wouldn't it be cool if your scanning that was all open source, including the tools, gave you a Slack message when it finished and told you like how many results there are, so that you need to so you know how much you need to triage every day? Do we have any, I don't know, attack surface managers? No, cool. Oh, okay, well, SBOMs, we do SBOMs. That's great. CISOs, we already know. I showed you. You can drive results to any dashboard you want. But don't take my word for it if this doesn't break. Let's give you a demo. Let's run a pipeline. So Cyberdyne is kind of our example company. We love Cyberdyne. And let's set up a pipeline. This is pretty much a script we've written. Normally that can be Kubernetes or customized apply. Pipeline installed. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Dracon is fast. Pipeline deployed. Let's get our task runs. These are all the previous pipelines I've run, task runs I've run. Dracon is cloning a repository. I think it's a OAuth2 proxy. No, it's the Go vulnerable web application. Because, well, we need to see some results, right? Like if we scanned critical infrastructure and we saw the results real time would not be cool. So cloning has finished. It's running Nancy and GoSec. GoSec has finished. Nancy needs to update, to download the CV databases, so it's gonna take a while, but it's going. And while this is running, let's leave matrix style stuff on the screen and talk a little bit more, I guess. Yeah, so while this is running, who here has any dashboards that show security like overviews? More of you should have that. Dashboards are very useful. Who here has like alerts for when security scanning has finished? Okay. Yes. That's the best, right? Like you can't do that. Like I need to deal with something. Filters for high, medium, low are built into consumers because I don't want to be seeing things that are lower than critical sometimes. We see policy has succeeded, and the duplication is running because it takes a while for a database. Do we have any auditors in here? I highly doubt it. You said CISO, man.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Can I make a question?
Yeah, sure.
You talk about the critical issues.
Yeah.
This tool can give me the opportunity to put inside the tool what issues will be more impact to my company, because you have the critical issues for the probability, and sometimes you don't. This doesn't mean that the probability will be the same than the impact to the company.
Yes. Contextual and temporal information. Yes. So Dragon cares only about data that comes from place 1, gets enriched with custom enrichment, and goes to places 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3000. You're enriching your data with extra information can be done via an enricher, and that's not very hard to do. For example, it finished. Cool. For example, our enricher on policy is something like 200 lines of code. When I say Dragon is easy to use and integrate, I mean it. So this has finished. It was, what, 2 minutes? Something like that. As I said, Dragon is fast. And then let's see the results, right? Here's a Dragon bot on a Slack message saying, I have new finding 7, 0 new, because as you see, I've been running this for a while now. I'm trying to finish the demo. And as a security champion, this is useful to you, right? Like you get a notification that I have to triage something, or if you're very, very lucky, I have to triage nothing. Let's go back to dashboards in a bit. As a developer, here's your Jira. Here's a bunch of issues. And you can deal with each issue as it comes. This is an example of a Jira issue. This view is configurable, and obviously this is open source, so if you want to change significant parts of it, fine. The only thing you need to configure is what is the name of the project. I've named my dashboard test because I'm great at making names. And that's it. You know the start time, you know the tool name, you know the type. So that's it. And this is an annotation of a policy that has not passed because it's a high issue, right? But then, when I said you'll need to be making more dashboards, I meant it. Here's a dashboard for our example auditor person. Here's targets, failing policy, literally a count on how many policy annotations have the word fail in them. Here's a dashboard, and here's a table on what are these targets and how many times have we found it. So for example, because I keep scanning Go vulnerable web application, and xtext033 is vulnerable, has a CV, we know that we have 8 targets with that CV. Let's go. There we go. Let's look at another one. Here's, for example, something that would be useful to a director, I think. Let's imagine there is a director. Here's, for example, how many unique total vulnerabilities have been found. This is literally a filter on count equals 0. Like I found it 0 other times. And other metrics like findings by tool, things like that. Could be something for the CISO. And my favorite one, where is it? As a security engineer, I would make something like that, right? Like new findings in the last 24 hours, 0, because, well, the duplication, top vulnerability types, things that I need to care about. I need to maybe write some new training or maybe write some new common libraries that fix these, things like that, right? This is teams that need training. Pretty much what target has appeared most times. You can, and because this is Kibana and Elasticsearch, you can create kind of any data transformation you want. The world, literally your oyster. Does this make sense? Any questions? Cool. Means I am very good at explaining things. Go back. fantastic. And this is one execution of one tool. Like, usually, to do this, we would string together several tools and several random scripts that pick information from several places and try to reconcile information together. This, at least when I tried to do that, it was very flaky. It was trivially to break because something becomes unavailable, something was not reachable, it was never DNS, it cannot be DNS, it's always DNS. You get the idea, right? But if you have one pipeline that runs your tools and then all these people get value from the same data production exercise without the need to have, how they call data lakes, which often become data swamps and things like that, it's easier and more resilient. As a recap, Dracon allows for unification of security tool and execution and results management. It is low to no code. It is free and open source. It is community driven. I cannot stress this enough. There are so many security tools out there, and the only way to integrate with all of them is if the community comes together and integrates with tools. You also get an idea of which tools are more popular because they have integrations. And so far, we've written extensive component support. We're writing more every day. It is trivial to write components. Our GoSec is 70 lines. Cool. Yeah, 70 lines. Here's what we, and here, obviously, if you need help to write components or if you need help to integrate Dracon, we can help you. Here's what we promise for open source Dracon. We promise more pipelines as we write them and as we integrate more things. I have a blog post coming integrating Zap and how to run end-to-end tests through Zap, through Dracon, and gain value. Pipeline open source as far as I finished the blog post. More components as we get use cases for components and as the community asks us to. And Dracon runs on Tecton. Tecton supports conditional pipelines. We need to support conditional pipelines. We will support conditional pipelines eventually. It is in our roadmap. Here's what we want you to do. As I keep saying, Dracon is its community. If you don't like the tool, feel free to not use it. But if you like the tool, please feel free to use it. Read our use case blogs. We have a blog. We post on it. It's curity.com/blog. We have extensive documentation on the Dracon repository. It's github.com/security/Dracon. And the docs are /docs. Yeah, if you have questions on docs, talk to us, file a ticket. If you want to integrate your tools, we accept pull requests. Luckily, GitHub does pull requests. And if you want to contribute pipelines, you can go to that last repository and contribute pipelines. And that's our call to action. And thank you. Questions, you can find me here, or there. I know we're in security conference and QR codes are deemed devil, but like, I promise this is LinkedIn. Cool. Questions?
One of the metrics that are used in this time as a CISO or as a security director, one of the ones is need for a DLCK. At one point, are you thinking to put this inside to this tool or not?
So,
not now, obviously.
Yes. So there we go. So I co-lead OpenCRE, and OpenCRE is a graph database of regulatory and standard clauses. Thank you. Integration with OpenCRE is coming very soon. OpenCRE does MITRE, so we will do MITRE.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? The question was, how do you install it and if you need Kubernetes? Yes, it runs on Kubernetes. It would be good if you had a cluster. There is Minikube if you don't want to. The images are all free and online. You can also run the Docker images and just string them together. That's also possible, but it will be more of a pita. Any other questions?
The OWASP question. So there is an open source community part of it, but obviously it's under your company. Are you planning to make any of it as a OWASP project?
That's a very good idea, question, and a very good idea. Last time we talked with OWASP about donating the project to OWASP. There were several questions, and there's been some noise on what OWASP wants to do with projects, and they do. And like I've been with OWASP for 13 years, right? Like I really believe in vendor neutrality in OWASP. If OWASP is okay with Ocurity being part of this, sure. If OWASP is not okay with Ocurity being part of this, we need to figure a way to remove Ocurity from the project. And yeah, maybe the community pipelines will be a good idea. Yeah. Great idea, Sam. Cool, we'll figure it out. I owe you a beer. More questions?
The Zapier interface that you're talking about.
Yeah.
How does it work?
So it's not, doesn't integrate with Zapier. We aim to make it Zapier for security tools. Yeah. It's like IFTTT. It's a workflow engine for security tools. Nobody has made it so far. We got a little bit annoyed with the lack of the ability to buy it, so we made it. And we're open sourcing it because nobody should have to buy these kinds of things, at least for basic things. For open source tools, right?
So what can I use it for download images and deploy on Kubernetes? Is there a GitHub profile where we can take the code and use it?
GitHub.com/security/Dracon. And no worries. Cool. If you don't have any more questions, you can, or if you have, you can catch us later. As I said, we are Ocurity. We are happy to support you with anything related to this. Thank you very much for this talk. It's by far the biggest audience I had. Have a great conference.